8 a.m. Before the eyes are even fully open, before the brain truly engages, the ritual begins. A primal urge, a silent command, coffee. From the moment consciousness flickers, the pursuit is on. The grinder screams, the water boils, the rich aroma fills the air, promising what exactly? Energy? Focus? Or simply a desperate escape from the fog of waking? We reach for that first cup day after day, year after year, barely questioning this deeply ingrained habit. But what if this seemingly innocent morning ritual is far more complex, far more impactful than we've ever considered? What if the very thing that jumpstarts our day is also subtly controlling it?
Those famous flavor buds of real coffee are now bursting with new fresh roast flavor. It's the most happy flavor in the USA. New Instant Maxwell.
Welcome to yet another episode of Tasting the Truth, where today we will talk about the bitter tasting truth behind the caffeine phenomenon, a story of wonder and worry, of benefit and burden, of the daily ritual, and the unseen power it holds over our lives. The story of coffee begins in the ancient highlands of Ethiopia, shrouded in myth and whispered tales.
Ethiopia and coffee are intertwined. The country prides itself as being the birthplace of coffee, roughly discovered in the 9th century. The coffee origin story strongly influenced the culture, traditions, and methods of how coffee is made throughout the country.
Legend paints a vivid picture of Kaldi, a humble goat herder who noticed his flock behaving unusually frisky and energetic after nibbling on the bright red berries of a peculiar shrub. Intrigued, Kaldi tried the berries himself and was struck by a jolt of invigorating energy unlike anything he had ever experienced. This serendipitous discovery, born from a simple observation in nature, marked the very first sip of what would become the world's most beloved beverage, a true natural wonder seemingly bestowed by the Ethiopian landscape itself. From these remote Ethiopian hills, coffee embarked on a transformative journey, finding its way to the Arabian Peninsula. Here, it wasn't merely consumed as a stimulant, but elevated to a cornerstone of intellectual and social life. Coffee houses, known as caffeinate, sprang up in bustling cities like Mecca and Cairo, becoming vibrant hubs for scholars, poets, and merchants to gather, debate, and exchange ideas over steaming cups of the dark brew. Coffee became deeply intertwined with Arab culture, fueling late-night studies, philosophical discussions, and the flourishing of arts and sciences. This period cemented coffee's image as a drink of enlightenment and refinement, a prized possession that enhanced the human mind and fostered community. Following coffee's rise as a prized drink of enlightenment in Arabia, its influence began to ripple outwards, arguably playing a transformative role in reshaping the very architecture of modern society. Historians suggest coffee subtly but powerfully displaced alcohol as the dominant social lubricant and workplace beverage, ushering in a new era of clarity and focus.
The daytime beverage of choice for both the mass and elites in British society was alcohol, for health reasons, right? Because the water just wasn't safe to drink, and so you had an entire culture that was waking up in the morning and drinking 2 pints of beer, and then going to work and then having a little bit more beer, and then having a little wine, and then having a little gin, particularly in the 1600s, and then having a little bit more wine, a little bit more beer. So the entire culture basically was drunk all day long as a kind of default state.
Imagine a world previously fueled by ale and wine, where even the workday commenced under the influence of alcohol. Conviviality came at the cost of widespread intoxication, hindering productivity and clouding judgment. Coffee emerged as a revolutionary alternative, offering alertness, sustained energy, and a sharp mental edge, starkly contrasting with the intoxicating haze of alcohol and subtly but profoundly altering the trajectory of societal development towards progress and innovation. This shift was epitomized by the rise of coffee houses, establishments distinctly unlike the taverns and pubs of the past. These were not mere places for a caffeine fix, but vibrant intellectual salons, rapidly becoming the breeding grounds for revolutionary ideas. Within these smoke-filled havens, far removed from the boisterous revelry of alehouses, a new culture of social interaction flourished. Sharp, focused conversations, impassioned yet clear-headed debates, and an electric exchange of groundbreaking ideas. Picture within those walls minds like Voltaire and Rousseau, titans of the Enlightenment, igniting intellectual revolutions with their fervent discussions. Envision Isaac Newton, fresh from scientific breakthroughs, finding intellectual camaraderie as he and fellow thinkers dissected the universe over steaming cups. Imagine the existentialist dialogues of Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir, forging the very foundations of modern philosophy, fueled by the stimulating brew. Even figures like Albert Camus, grappling with profound existential existential questions might have found intellectual solace and sparring partners within these caffeinated hubs. Thinkers, writers, merchants, artists, and revolutionaries all were drawn to these coffee-fueled epicenters, seeking clarity, sustained wakefulness, and a stimulating atmosphere ripe for innovation and the dissemination of radical new knowledge. As societies evolved into increasingly complex industrial, political, and commercial structures, the demand for alert, innovative minds grew exponentially, and coffee houses became the vital crucibles where those minds were sharpened, interconnected, and ultimately empowered to propel human advancement and foster the progress of civilization itself. While the coffeehouse era represents a pinnacle of rational discourse and societal advancement fueled by coffee, we must acknowledge coffee's potentially more problematic earlier chapter. Before coffee ignited the Enlightenment in bustling urban centers, its story took root in less refined practices. The initial embrace of coffee was intertwined with ancient paganism, its earliest associations tinged with a less progressive worldview. Yemeni pagan shamans and priestesses, in their pursuit of trance states during nocturnal rituals, may have sought coffee as a crude tool. The brew's stimulating effects might have been misinterpreted as a mystical gift, utilized within ecstatic dances and divination rites, practices far removed from the intellectual rigor of later coffee houses. This early pagan connection imbued coffee with an aura of something other, a primal energy that contrasts sharply with its later association with reason and progress. These pagan practices, centered in rudimentary proto-urban settlements, may have fostered a nascent coffee culture, but one drastically different from the intellectual salons to come. Long before the structured debates of Parisian cafes, pagan gatherings might have involved coffee in less sophisticated communal rituals around fires or within sacred groves. These proto-coffee gatherings, while perhaps fostering social bonds within tribal structures, lacked the focused intellectual exchange that would define coffee's later, more impactful role in society. While these ancient settings served as early forms of social interaction, they existed in a world far removed from the advancements in thought and societal structures that coffee houses would later champion. In essence, while coffee's journey began in the realm of ancient paganism and its associated practices, it was only with the rise of dedicated coffee houses that its true potential to fuel human progress and enlightenment was fully realized, leaving its pagan past as a less civilized precursor. It's just crazy to think caffeine was a part of all this ungodly behavior and practices. Imagine a serene, sun-drenched mountainside where diligent farmers lovingly handpick ruby-red coffee cherries, a scene often romanticized in commercials and coffee shop brochures. But peel back this idyllic veneer, and a starkly different reality emerges. The journey from bean to brew is indeed arduous, demanding backbreaking labor under grueling conditions. Entire families, often including children, toil for hours, meticulously harvesting each cherry by hand, a process that dictates the very quality of your morning cup. Yet, this painstaking effort, this human dedication, frequently translates into wages that barely sustain a living trapping coffee farmers in a cycle of poverty while the world enjoys the fruits of their labor. Is our daily indulgence built upon the backs of the unseen and underpaid? The global coffee industry, while generating billions in revenue, operates under a stark power imbalance, with a handful of massive corporations wielding disproportionate control over the market. These giants dictate pricing, often squeezing profit margins to their absolute limit, leaving coffee farmers at the mercy of fluctuating global commodity prices and exploitative trading practices. Farmers, lacking bargaining power and often organized in small, vulnerable cooperatives, are price takers, not price makers. This economic structure allows corporations to amass vast wealth, while the very individuals who cultivate the essential ingredient for this global phenomenon struggle to secure basic necessities like food, education, and healthcare for their families. Is your perfectly brewed latte masking a bitter truth of economic injustice at its core? Beyond the human cost, the insatiable global thirst for coffee is leaving an undeniable scar on our planet. Driven by demand, vast swathes of biodiverse rainforests are relentlessly cleared to make way for coffee plantations, decimating critical habitats and contributing to alarming rates of deforestation. Furthermore, coffee cultivation is often water-intensive, placing immense strain on local water resources, particularly in regions already facing water scarcity. From the widespread use of environmentally damaging pesticides and fertilizers to the carbon footprint of global shipping, the environmental consequences of our daily coffee habit are far-reaching and devastating. Are we, in our pursuit of the perfect caffeine kick, inadvertently fueling a silent environmental crisis with every sip. Yet, amidst these troubling realities, a beacon of hope shines through the burgeoning fair trade coffee movement. Consumers are increasingly empowered to make conscious choices, seeking out coffee certified by fair trade organizations. These certifications are not mere labels. They represent a commitment to a more equitable system, ensuring that coffee farmers receive a fair and stable price for their harvest, one that truly reflects the labor and dedication poured into each bean. Through fair trade initiatives, farmers are not just seen as cogs in a global machine, but as valued partners, fostering direct and respectful trading relationships that bypass exploitative intermediaries. This conscious consumerism has the power to disrupt the conventional power dynamics, channeling economic benefits directly back to the communities who cultivate our beloved brew, offering a tangible pathway towards a more just coffee industry. Furthermore, the rise of fair trade coffee culture extends beyond just economic fairness. It fosters a more sustainable and ethical approach to coffee production overall. Fair trade standards often incorporate environmentally responsible practices, encouraging farmers to adopt sustainable agriculture methods that protect biodiversity, conserve water resources, and reduce reliance on harmful chemicals. This holistic approach recognizes the interconnectedness of social justice and environmental stewardship, acknowledging that the long-term health of the coffee industry hinges on the well-being of both farmers and the planet. As consumers, by choosing fair trade coffee, we are not just indulging in a delicious beverage, but actively participating in a movement that champions human dignity, environmental responsibility, and a future where our daily coffee ritual can be enjoyed with a clear conscience, knowing that it contributes to a more equitable and sustainable world. The journey from bean to brew can be ethical. The choice ultimately rests with us. Caffeine is one of the few legal performance-enhancing drugs. Yup, it's actually a drug. Turns out it's widely accepted in both athletics and the workplace for its ability to boost focus and endurance. By reducing perceived exertion, sharpening focus, and improving endurance, caffeine allows athletes to push harder, train longer, and react faster. This isn't just anecdotal. Scientific studies consistently demonstrate caffeine's ergogenic effects, solidifying its status as a legal and accepted tool for athletic optimization. Beyond the arena, the workplace has similarly adopted caffeine's performance-boosting capabilities. The very concept of the coffee break arose from the recognition that a short, caffeine-fueled pause could revitalize workers, leading to increased alertness, improved concentration, and a more productive workforce. Caffeine, therefore, became deeply intertwined with the rhythms of modern work life, shaping not only individual performance, but also the collective pace of industry and commerce. Intriguingly, the effects of caffeine extend beyond mere productivity and athleticism, subtly influencing our social interactions as well. Consider the modern ritual of coffee dates. Their prevalence might stem from more than just practical convenience or shared taste. Caffeine, it turns out, triggers a cascade of physiological responses, some of which bear a striking resemblance to the sensations associated with sexual arousal. Upon that first sip, caffeine acts as a stimulant, rapidly increasing heart rate and blood pressure, mirroring the body's responses to attraction and excitement, even sex. You heard it. That's why it feels so nice to get that first coffee hit in the morning.
Caffeine moves into your system, and that wakes you up, but it leads to these other things, including things like changes in blood pressure, changes in heart rate. So you know what an aphrodisiac is, right? So something you consume to make you more interested in sex. It ends up that coffee is actually a super legitimate aphrodisiac. Right? So there's a reason why we go on coffee dates.
Furthermore, while still under study, some research hints at caffeine possessing mild aphrodisiac qualities, adding another layer to its potential influence on social dynamics. This blurring of lines between physiological stimulation and social allure suggests that while coffee date popularity is multifaceted, the subtle yet undeniable physiological effects of caffeine might play a surprisingly potent and often unacknowledged role in shaping our social habits, romantic inclinations, and perhaps even the initial sparks of attraction. It serves as a potent reminder that even seemingly benign substances like caffeine can exert influence on our bodies and behaviors in ways we are only beginning to fully grasp. So, what happens the moment caffeine enters your brain? Think of it as a masterful biohack. Caffeine cleverly targets your brain's tiredness system. Imagine tiredness receptors waiting for a chemical called adenosine, your brain's natural calm-down signal that builds up all day. Adenosine's job is good. It gently tells your brain to relax and prepare for sleep. But caffeine, acting like a molecular key, blocks adenosine from fitting into those receptors. It's like putting a roadblock in the pathway of fatigue. This blockage not only prevents drowsiness, but it also unleashes a delightful bonus, a surge surge of dopamine, the very neurotransmitter linked to pleasure and motivation. Think of it as a natural reward system booster. This ingenious two-pronged effect, suppressing fatigue and amplifying pleasure, is why coffee provides that sought-after kick, sharpening focus, boosting energy, and sparking that feeling of enjoyable drive and motivation. It's a testament to caffeine's remarkable ability to temporarily optimize our mental state, offering a legal and readily available cognitive enhancement. However, while caffeine offers these undeniable benefits, it's crucial to acknowledge that this powerful biohack isn't without potential drawbacks. While caffeine can sharpen focus in the short term, chronic over-reliance can paradoxically blur your natural ability to concentrate without it. That initial jolt of energy, while invigorating, can tip over into anxiety and jitters if overdone. And while caffeine can temporarily elevate mood, excessive intake can disrupt delicate emotional balance. Furthermore, while caffeine helps us feel more awake, it can ironically sabotage the very foundation of true alertness, restorative sleep. Fragmented sleep cycles and caffeine-fueled wakefulness can create a vicious cycle of daytime fatigue and nighttime restlessness.
I tend to ingest caffeine only early in the day. I tend to cut off my caffeine intake somewhere around 1 or 2 p.m. to ensure that I can get into a good night's sleep. But I realize that there are people out there that ingest caffeine as late as 2 or 3 in the afternoon and can still sleep fine. I will caution those of you that think that you can drink caffeine in the evening or nighttime and still fall asleep. All of the research points to the fact that the architecture of your sleep and the depth of your sleep is disrupted. Even if you're able to fall and stay asleep, the sleep you're getting is simply not as good as the sleep you would get if you were to shut off your caffeine intake at least 8 hours before bedtime, and ideally more like 10 or even 12 hours before bedtime. But of course, there are practical constraints as well.
Finally, the stimulating effects, while often welcome, can place a strain on the cardiovascular system in some individuals. Therefore, understanding both the potential benefits and the inherent risks is paramount. Caffeine, like many potent tools, is best used with awareness, moderation, and a deep respect for its double-edged nature.
The current research is that on balance, it contributes much more to your health than it takes away, and that it's protective against many kinds of cancer, cardiovascular disease, Parkinson's, dementia. In the American diet, coffee and tea represent the single biggest source of antioxidants. And antioxidants are very important to cellular health and preventing cancer. And we eat so few plants, so few vegetables and fruit in this country that we're getting most of those antioxidants from coffee.
Ultimately, the science of caffeine reveals a complex paradox, a substance straddling the line between beneficial tool and potential hazard. On one hand, it presents itself as a readily available cognitive aid, capable of boosting productivity, enhancing mood, and possibly even contributing to longevity, according to some studies. On the other hand, it carries the risks of addiction, anxiety, sleep disorders, and cardiovascular complications, particularly when consumed in excess. The crucial question then becomes, have we, as a society, normalized a subtle yet pervasive addiction in our relentless pursuit of productivity and stimulation? Is caffeine truly a miracle drug or a silent killer masking in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of our daily routines? Step into a bustling Italian espresso bar, the air thick with the aroma of roasted beans and the rhythmic hiss of steam wands, or picture yourself meeting a friend at a cozy cafe, mugs warming your hands as conversations flow. Coffee is undeniably woven into the fabric of our daily lives, transcending mere sustenance to become a cherished ritual and a cornerstone of social interaction. Across continents, coffee culture manifests in diverse forms, from elegant Viennese coffee houses steeped in history to minimalist Japanese kisaten, each reflecting unique cultural nuances. In many societies, the type of coffee you consume, the way you order it, and the place you drink it have even become subtle markers of social status, unspoken signals of taste and belonging. But is this deeply ingrained cultural phenomenon purely organic, a natural evolution of human connection around a shared beverage? Or is there a more manufactured narrative at play beneath the surface? Consider the relentless force of modern marketing, which has seized upon this ancient beverage and transformed it into a global multi-billion-dollar industry, fueled by carefully constructed desires and manufactured needs. No longer just a simple drink, coffee is aggressively positioned as an essential component of a productive workday, a vital fuel for the modern individual, and a trendy lifestyle accessory. Plus, big companies use manipulating marketing tricks to get you to come back to buy more. They are even willing to go as far to make mistakes on purpose. Just take a look at this example.
Writing names on the cups is now a tradition that is born from Starbucks. Starbucks baristas are trained and given the freedom and empowerment to write their names to the best abilities and also have fun putting their character in doing so. Sometimes it is very playful, sometimes it is misspelled, sometimes it is a lot of fun. And that's the reason why we would actually share these on our social media. Or this may be a conspiracy that Starbucks actually trains their barista to intentionally write the names wrong, so then that way people would share it more. This is actually becoming such a big thing that people are doing free advertisement for Starbucks.
To thrive, to succeed, to even simply function in today's fast-paced world, you need coffee. Has genuine cultural appreciation been subtly supplanted by a cleverly orchestrated marketing machine, conditioning us to believe that our daily dose of caffeine is not a choice, but an indispensable requirement? However, a countercurrent is brewing, a movement pushing back against the tide of mass-marketed coffee and the commodification of this complex beverage. The specialty coffee movement, with its emphasis on single-origin beans, artisanal roasting techniques, and meticulous brewing methods, represents a conscious effort to reclaim coffee's integrity and reconnect with its origins. These passionate producers and baristas champion ethical sourcing, sustainable farming practices, and a deep respect for the farmers and environments that make exceptional coffee possible. This growing movement questions the dominant narrative of coffee as a mere commodity, instead advocating for a return to quality, craftsmanship, and a more mindful consumption. So, as you savor your next cup, ask yourself, are you truly drinking coffee out of genuine cultural appreciation and personal enjoyment, or have you been subtly conditioned to crave it, your desires shaped by a powerful and pervasive marketing force? Now let's actually take a moment to talk about the fact that people are straight up addicted to coffee. This is the product of the persuasive marketing we just talked about. You've probably heard it before. I can't start my day without coffee. Or, don't talk to me unless I've had my coffee. Heck, maybe that's you, taking 7 cups of coffee per day, non-stop, even in the evening. It's quite ridiculous if you think about it. How do we conquer and navigate in this caffeinated society in the 2020s? Don't fret, we've got you covered with all the knowledge you need to equip yourself with in just a second. We've journeyed through the complex world of caffeine and coffee, exploring its wonders and its worries. The truth, as we've seen, isn't black and white. Caffeine isn't inherently good or bad, but our relationship with it can be. Moving forward, building a healthy and sustainable relationship with this powerful substance is key. Here are a few mindful things to keep in the back of your mind regarding our favorite brew. By the way, do your own research. Imagine a life with coffee. Mornings begin with an almost instant surge of energy. Mental fog dissipates and focus sharpens, powering you through tasks and deadlines. Coffee can be a social lubricant, a comforting ritual, and even provide potential health benefits like antioxidants. However, this caffeine-fueled existence can also come with downsides. Sleep may become fragmented, anxiety levels can rise, and a subtle dependence can creep in, making you reliant on that daily jolt just to feel normal. The highs are higher, but the lows of withdrawal or overstimulation are also part of the bargain. Now consider a life without coffee. Mornings might start a bit slower, requiring a gentler awakening. Energy levels might follow a more natural ebb and flow throughout the day, relying on consistent sleep, healthy food, and exercise for sustained vitality. Without caffeine's influence, sleep often deepens and becomes more restorative, and anxiety levels may naturally decrease. Yet you might miss that sharp spike of focus when needed, the social connection around coffee culture, and perhaps even the subtle mood lift that caffeine can provide. The energy is more even, but the peaks of caffeine-induced alertness are absent. Ultimately, neither path, life with or without coffee, is inherently superior. The right choice is deeply personal, depending on your individual needs, sensitivities, and lifestyle. It's about weighing the potential benefits against the possible drawbacks and deciding what truly aligns with your own pursuit of well-being and balance. Enjoying your coffee in the earlier hours of the day, ideally before noon, works with your body's natural rhythms, allowing caffeine's stimulating effects to align with your active hours and significantly minimizing disruption to your precious sleep cycle later in the night. By strategically timing your consumption, you harness caffeine's benefits without sacrificing restorative rest. Numbers considered, here they are. Taking a cup of coffee 1 hour after you've woken up after your sleep is way better than taking it right away after awaking, simply because it's better to give your body the proper time to naturally wake up. Furthermore, 2 cups a day maximum before 2 p.m. is the goal you should preferably aim for, and then 1 day a week skipping coffee entirely makes sure that it does not become a dependency. Cultivating a healthy relationship with coffee begins with self-awareness. Each of us is unique in our caffeine sensitivity, a factor dictated by our individual metabolism and even our genetic predispositions. Therefore, paying close attention to your personal response to caffeine is paramount. Are you experiencing a desirable, energizing focus, or are you veering into the territory of unwanted jitters, and anxiety. Understanding your individual thresholds and limits is the first crucial step towards mindful consumption. Beyond quantity, consider also the quality of your coffee. Opting for ethically sourced, high-quality beans is not merely a virtuous choice for supporting responsible practices, it directly enhances your own experience. Superior beans, expertly roasted, unlock a richer, more nuanced flavor profile, often leading to greater satisfaction with a smaller amount and potentially reducing the urge for overconsumption. Furthermore, learn to listen to your body's signals. There will inevitably be days when your body subtly or overtly communicates a need for a break from stimulation. On these occasions, embrace the diverse world of herbal teas or explore the satisfying flavors of decaffeinated coffee. These gentler options can still provide that comforting ritual and warm beverage experience without the intensity of caffeine. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, engage in honest self-reflection about your caffeine reliance. If you consistently find yourself needing coffee simply to feel functional, to merely get through the day, it's a critical sign to pause and introspect. Ask yourself, is your coffee consumption masking deeper, underlying issues such as chronic stress, persistent inadequate sleep, or other forms of fatigue? Addressing these root causes directly, rather than perpetually relying on caffeine as a stimulant band-aid, is ultimately essential for achieving genuine long-term well-being and a truly balanced relationship with this potent beverage. Caffeine in coffee, in moderation and with awareness, can be a source of pleasure, focus, and even potential health benefits. But, unexamined and unchecked, this powerful substance can subtly erode our well-being, fuel dependence, and obscure deeper imbalances. The choice is ours: to be mindful consumers, enjoying caffeine's gifts responsibly, or to become unwitting subjects, subtly controlled by a deeply ingrained, globally pervasive habit. Choose wisely for your health and for a future where we are masters of our rituals, not the other way around. Thank you for watching today's Tasting the Truth episode. If you have learned something new, be sure to let us know in the comments down below. You made it this far into the video, so we're sure that you enjoyed watching it. You can show it to us by giving it a like. Subscribe to the channel for more lessons on the bitter tasting truths in our world of food. Last time, we talked about the severe hidden impact on almond milk and why it might not be the best plant-based milk that's out in the market right now. It's on the screen if you want to watch it next.